Or are we required to advertise by law?
7 days after you're swearing in. And then from there, we were given some time to put in our applications.
How much time were you given?
I think we were given 21 days. I don't know whether it is anchored in law, but it was a period between the advert and when they closed the applications. And then from there, we waited. I think there was no specific time between the closing of the application and when we had a shortlist. But after the closing of the application, the next step was that the full list of applicants was publicized. And then from there, subsequently, the shortlist was publicized. And on we went. The
so
shortlist
from here now, once we are done with our interviews, in terms of the law, what are the next procedures before the people we recommend become commissioners? I'm talking about the law now. I'm sure you must have looked at it.
Yes.
We have said it everywhere. We have published notices.
Yeah. So next, you're going to give to the president the nominees from the panel. The president will then write to the Speaker of the National Assembly.
Within how many days?
Within how many days the president must write to the Speaker? Within 7 days. Within 7 days, the president writes to the Speaker. And within 21 days, a debate, the discussion around the names of the nominees are tabled in Parliament. And if there are no objections or if Parliament passes those names, the president must then appoint and gazette the commissioners in 7 days. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, again, in your case study, we picked another issue. And when you raised issue number 7, because you are required to raise a number of issues, you said, have commissioners maintained public confidence, or are they affiliated to political parties? Now, under our constitution and our law, are commissioners of IEBC barred from being affiliated to political parties?
No. There's no requirement that you're not a member of a political party.
But that is something that you said in your case study. What did you mean when you asked that question? Have they maintained public confidence, or are they affiliated to political parties? Did you suggest that it is wrong for commissioners to be affiliated to political parties?
What I meant in that comment was that commissioners should not be seen to support specific political parties. In the light of their work, they should be apolitical because they are the referees, they are the neutral parties in the conduct of elections. And so I was just asking, the issues worries are, why is it that we have all these problems as per the case study? And there was an issue raised in the case study about a section of the country that had these people who had not been registered as voters, and when they went out now to start giving.
I get that, Carol.
Yes.
So your idea is that what you meant is that you shouldn't be seen to be associating too much, not that you shouldn't be a member. You can be a member, but you cannot take part in political activities.
Okay, nothing bars you from being a member, but you can actually make personal choice, because you see, you also have a responsibility to really be seen to be neutral. So if, for instance, as part of what was going on in the case study, they pulled out and said you're actually a member of this and other political party, then that would fuel the notion that is already out there that you're actually supporting a certain political party. So I think by law you're not barred from being a member of a political party, but to just maintain neutrality and to be seen to really be the person refereeing between political parties, you can make a personal choice not to be a member of a political party. You can make a personal choice.
Yeah. And now that you seek to be a commissioner of IEBC, I'm sure you have taken time to look at the Constitution to know the key qualifications for this office and our Constitution. Could you just kindly tell us what they are?
You need to have a bachelor's degree.
In what discipline?
In management, in finance. There's a list of disciplines: management, finance, election matters.
So if I have a degree in animal husbandry, do I qualify?
It depends on what else comes after animal husbandry, because management is also, and it doesn't talk about the bachelor's degree being in the areas. It talks about experience in the areas that are listed. So if I am able to demonstrate that while I did a course in animal husbandry, I have been the CEO of ILRI, for example, and I have this wealth of experience as a manager, then I still qualify.
Okay, then what else? What other qualification?
What would be the other? I think there was a third one. Or that you meet the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity. Those are the ones that come to mind right now.
Those are the ones that come to your mind?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Chair, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maurice.
Thank you, Mr. Kimuli. I will now ask Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you some questions.
Sure.
Good morning, Madam Njeri.
Good morning.
I have picked up from your talks and your CVs and all that you are a professional in auditing, accounting, and many other financial related matters.
Yes.
Right. Now, could you please tell this panel, describe one aspect of your current job or previous job that you have held that you would want to be emulated in the management structure of IEBC, and why?
Okay. So earlier I had mentioned that the real skill, and I'm multifaceted. I have training in finance. I also have training in alternative dispute resolution. Primarily for me, when I look at the things that IEBC needs to do and the history of how IEBC in the past has conducted elections, the thing that I would probably bring most to the table in addition to the others would be my skills in ADR, alternative dispute resolution, and to instill it as part of the DNA of the organization. To just know that everybody, the commissioners and the management team as well, see ADR as the primary way of resolving disputes. Hopefully that can help us to have calmer elections and relations with the players, the parties to our work as IEBC. Secondly, we are an organization. IEBC is an organization like any other. There are elements of budgeting, reporting that is required of IEBC. And at the top, at the policy level, I'd see that as a skill that I would bring on board so that we are compliant and so that we can demonstrate to Kenyans in a proper and accurate way how we are spending the monies that have been sent to us by the taxpayer. Then from there, my experience in just being at the policy level of organization and the dynamics, the corporate governance dynamics that come with that. While the IEBC case is special because the commissioners are also full-time employees of the organization, just that experience in how it works currently in the work I am doing with Tourism Fund and how it would work and how we avoid conflicts that may arise from the structure and the corporate governance of the organization.
Thank you. So in your opinion, there's a lot of conflict in the structure of IEBC?
There's a lot of commentary about that, sir. And I have come across it as I was preparing to appear before you. And I also got thinking about what would probably be the right way to go about it. I think the law has secured the role of everybody in the commission, even if commissioners are full-time. And if everybody really just did what they needed to do, the structure as is right now would work. But we have heard in the past, even in public domain in the last elections, some people saying that the responsibility of delivering certain aspects of an election, for example, rest in the commissioners. But that's about where it ends. The implementation of what it takes to actually deliver that election is in the hands of other people. So unless you have created a system where they actually work together, that the primary role of procurement, for example, and timely procurement of certain things is vested in the commissioners. If it is not done, it is actually the commissioners who are on the line, but it is not their job to do the procurement. So unless all those areas are aligned and streamlined and everybody is doing their part, there would arise conflict, and there is information out there in the public domain that certain conflicts, I wouldn't, I'm not sure because I'm not an insider, but that conflicts of that nature have been there. But my own opinion is that if that is really an issue that has come up, then we should have an open debate about it. You know, everybody to bring should commissioners be full-time or part-time? Should the chairman of the commission be an executive chairman and hence takes the role? All those debates, because they've been proposed, then maybe it would be time to have a discussion and really agree on what would be the best way to sort of run the structure of the organization.
You mean rather than debate, dialogue?
Dialogue, I mean.
Good. I feel at home with you because I sit in the ADR committee with Ohanga.
Sorry?
I sit in the ADR committee, which is now doing the bill, with Dr. Ohanga. ADR, which is of course meant to solve or to relieve the courts with so much burdens of these. And I will wish you all the best if you will be able to do that when you're a commissioner. Now, in my opinion, employee wellness is critical in the performance of the IEBC. Right? What human resource proposal would you make to ensure wellness is catered for the employees?
Okay. So actually at Tourism Fund, I am a member of the board HR committee. We at the policy level are the ones involved in just ensuring that our employees are happy and they're happy to do their job, and that they feel that they are part and parcel of the organization. So for me, employee wellness would be a consultative, they are the basics that everyone must have, but there are other areas that employees themselves can propose to the management and the commission about what they think are the most important aspects. And they vary depending on every employee. There are some for them, other than the basic provisions of a job, that is your pay and your other benefits. For some it would be, for instance, a gym. You know, if that's what in this era of mental health issues, people want to go and relax. For young women like myself, it would probably be a nursery, you know, one of those rooms that you sit when you are nursing a baby and do things like that. So it would vary from one person to another within the organization. I think the idea would be to just have a policy that is consultatively put in place to try and take care of everybody's wellness. Of course, at the same time, the employees must also commit to deliver on the objectives of the organization. So that, and I have actually come to understand that employees like to be challenged. They like to be given targets that makes them sure about what you need from them, what you need them to do, and it gives them confidence to go about their job. So that is really what I would say about employee wellness.
So, Caroline, what I hear you, that you're looking at the terms of reference, TORs, right? And of course, it does vary from one to the other. What about the SOPs? Standard operation procedures. Yeah. What about that? How can that, what can you bring in form of SOPs so as to have harmony and good coexistence in the IEBC?
I think primarily it would be that everybody knows what they are supposed to do and how they are supposed to do it, and it is documented so you're not guessing as you go about your work. when during my time at Tourism Fund not too long ago, we faced some disciplinary issues with some of our staff. And one of the key things that came out for the committee where I'm a member is that there were so many things that were vague. So these employees were just left to their own devices, to what you think in your own judgment would be the correct way to do it, and it landed them in a lot of trouble. So I think SOPs being put in place for all aspects of the organization will help the employees just be very sure about themselves and what is required of them and how to go about it.
Thank you. Given your experience and training in accounting, especially in oversight of management of finance and audit department as per your CV, how would you streamline the system of purchasing? Because I'm sure you'll appreciate everywhere, every corner you hear that the issue of procurement is like the thing everybody is looking at, maybe the cow to be milked.
Yeah. Actually, most of the issues we've had in state corporations in Kenya has been around the procurement. And I had the benefit of recently being trained on the procurement procedure and the law. And I think it's robust enough to cover all the areas that are needed in an organization if we comply by it. And the law has also even set on it institutions. If you are unsure about how to go about a certain thing, if you are unsure about what it means to do direct procurement and what are the conditions for that, then you can go to the regulator and ask, and they'll be able to respond to you so that you're on the right side. So I think over the years, starting from when we used to outsource procurement in Kenya to where we are now with a robust Procurement Act from 2015, if organizations and the people running the Department of Procurement are well trained, and now there is even a requirement that the head of procurement in organization must be a member of KISIM, the Association of Procurement Professionals, which was not the case. Anyone, even myself as an accountant, I would learn a bit and then posture as a procurement professional. That is sort of coming to an end in the public sector. It is a requirement that they are members of KISIM. So I believe that if organizations, IEBC included, really strictly followed the procurement law and regulations, then there would be no problem at all.
How many types of procurement methods are defined in the Procurement Act?
I can list them.
No,
yeah?
Please go ahead. Whatever you know.
Okay. So there is open tender, which is
Public tender.
Open, like everybody who meets the qualification is open. It's the most probably robust. It's the one that gives everybody an opportunity, everybody who believes they can do the work, an opportunity to participate. There is restricted tendering, for which the law actually requires you to document and report to the regulator the element of restriction that you're doing and why you're doing it. So that's the second one. There is direct procurement. It's only allowed in very specialized situations where maybe just only one person is able to do, and you're able to demonstrate that it's actually only that person who can do the work you have. And it's also allowed when it is between two government agencies giving services to each other, then you can do the direct procurement. Which other? There is a quotation, the form of quotation. Pre-qualified suppliers, if you need an item, then you ask them to quote. You select a minimum of 3 and ask them to quote, and you pick the one that gives you the best value. There is one other whose name is disappearing, but the modality of it is that you put people on contract. Actually, I think it's called term contract, yeah. And they give you certain conditions, and every time you need that item, for instance, tea in the office, yeah, you just get into term contract with a restaurant, and every time you have a meeting or whatever it is, you can ask them to supply.
There's also the framework
contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're good. I think you'll do a good job there. Now, coming out from your profession, The next general election is less than 14 months away. What are some of the risks that you anticipate to face you as a potential commissioner of the IEBC, and how are you prepared to face them? Do I repeat?
Yeah.
I repeat?
Yes, please.
Thank you. The next general election is less than 14 months away. What are some of the risks that you anticipate to face you as a potential commissioner of the IEBC, and how are you prepared to face them? First,
what are the risks and how we are prepared to face them?
right.
Okay. Just coming from the conversation.
Taking the time factor that you were only about 13 months now, or 13 or 14 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Recently, the IEBC sent out a calendar of how they were planning to go about preparation for the next general election, and in there are things that are subject to litigation, for example, that stops them from proceeding as they have scheduled in what they have circulated to Kenyans. So I see litigation from various interested parties as one of the primary risks. And what that would do then to create the next risk is when you lose time and there are things that need a certain period of time to do. For instance, I don't know whether the plan is to use the technology that we used in the last election, but I think that the elections law says that the technology that we are going to apply in the election must be purchased 8 months to the election. So you see, if that is already in the plan, but for one reason or another, by various delays, we are not able to do it, so we'll be in contravention of the law, but also now it will start to become complicated in terms of training and so on. How we would go about mitigating some of these risks, I think that's part of how the job is pretty tough, but it's to negotiate, to try and respond to the issues that are raised by the players as quickly as possible, to look at to even appear in court and get the judiciary to sort of expedite in how they deal with the issues of litigation that delay the IEBC, just proactively attending to any issue that comes up that could potentially delay the schedule that the Commission has already set out.
Thank you. Thank you. You've missed out two fundamental things, especially in your profession, the funding.
Yeah, the funding could actually, yeah. But we did, the chairman of the commission did say that this year at least they have gotten money to run the preparation, although he also said that in the previous years they had not received any money other than recurrent expenditure, which could also be one of the issues, because things like voter registration should be a continuous process, voter education should be a continuous process. So when funding doesn't come, then, yeah, then it becomes...
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah. I'll now request Mr. Gideon Solonka to ask some questions.
Caroline, thank you so much for your answers this far. Now, I'm looking at Form SP1 that you filled.
Sorry?
Form SP1.
Form SP1, okay.
Yes.
Yes, the application form.
Yes. And in that form, you've indicated that important to this role at the IEBC is my involvement in civic education and voter registration during both the 2013 and 2017 general elections. Now, kindly tell me, where were you in 2013? What job were you in 2013?
I was working in the private sector as an auditor.
As an auditor?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you become a member of the board of trustees at the tourism fund?
In October of 2015.
After elections or before?
Before the 2017 elections.
Before the 2017 elections?
Yes.
Okay. Now, First, I want to commend you for involving yourself in civic education and voter registration. Now, how are you doing that? Were you employed at the IEBC? Mm-hmm. Because I understand that these are all of IEBC, civic education and voter registration. You need somebody who is there.
Yes.
So how did you do that?
Okay, so I'll start with the civic education. While preparing to appear before you, I actually saw the restrictions around how people can actually formally say that they are doing voter education, because it's a regulated function of IEBC, and while it can look out for partners to do it, it shouldn't just be any partners. And anyone purporting to be doing any voter education must be registered by IEBC. So how I was involved during this time is I am part of professional associations from our county of Murang'a, and they are various, that especially, let's start off with 2013. We were all not sure about what the new constitution meant. Who are these senators? What will these governors do? And a lot of associations and people just went out teaching their people about what this new thing was going to be. And I involved myself in that kind of setup with professional associations from my county. In the process of telling people about the details, their rights as citizens and as voters, we also sort of told them about the importance of voter registration. So I didn't actually involve myself in voter registration, but it is in the element of educating people as a member of these associations on how to, on the importance of being registered as voters and participating in the election, in the knowledge of who they are electing and what these people are supposed to do.
So is your statement correct when you say that you involved yourself in civic education and voter registration? Is it correct?
In the context of our discussion now, it's not correct to say that I involve myself in voter registration, because voter registration is the specific role of IEBC done by staff of IEBC, sworn to the code of conduct and all that. Yeah, so it's not correct to say that in that context, but I was writing it from the context I just explained.
And you're confirming that you've never been employed at the IEBC?
I have actually, earlier on when I was a student at the university, including the first time I voted in the 2005 referendum, and no, the 2010, I think I wasn't there, but and in the 2007 election, actually, I served as a clerk of the election, so I have participated to that extent.
Fair enough, thank you. Now, the Constitution grants every adult citizen the right to be registered as a voter. What is your assessment of the way the IEBC has undertaken voter registration, and what will you do to address the challenges and shortcomings, if any?
Okay. So first is that voter registration is supposed to be a it's supposed to be a continuous process. I came across research that shows that only 2% of the registered voters actually register at the designated offices of IEBC outside the mass voter registration period. Which means sort of that role being done from that office doesn't happen. I think people don't remember that they need to be registered, or they are not motivated to go and register as voters until there is a reason to go and be registered as voters or to move your vote from one place to another. So in that regard, then I think that some of the resources that are used to put clerks in stations where Kenyans are required to come and register as voters, maybe we can readjust that expenditure and have mass voter registration happening at other intervals other than just before the election. Because, I mean, if it's 98% of the people wait for when the clerk is in their shopping center or in their church, then definitely that is the most efficient way to register people as voters. The other issue is about people who get their IDs and then never really get to register as voters. And in the case study, that matter also came up. And there is a lot of debate about whether there should be an integration between registration of persons and registration of people as voters. When we went out, I think a year ago, to register for Huduma number, it was said to be one integrated station where everything about you will be available to government. So we could look at that also. Of course, you don't force anyone to register as a voter, but that option should be there at a way that it is very easy to the voter. In this era of technology, when I'm registered as a citizen at the age of 18, there should be a portal I can go to, maybe e-citizen, and already immediately I become a registered Kenyan. There should be a place I just click and say, now I also want to be a voter, without having to go anywhere. And in that portal, pick my polling station and so on. So I think that's one of the ways we can make it more efficient.
Thank you for that. Now, our courts have acknowledged the right of Kenyans in the diaspora to be registered as voters. What are the challenges in enabling voter registration in the diaspora? And in your view, what can IEBC do to ensure that the realization of this right?
Yeah. Actually, the Constitution talks about progressively making sure that every Kenyan, wherever they are, is able to vote. Of course, that would have to come with its own regulation, which I didn't see like specific regulation as to how people in the diaspora vote. But I don't think it's very complicated actually. As long as you're out there, the Kenyan embassy in your area knows you're there, and you're able to access the embassy for voting, then IEBC should collaborate with all the embassies and high commissions across the world to register people as voters and to give them modalities of voting. Of course, if you're voting from the diaspora, then you can only vote for the president because you're not assigned to any county or ward for that matter. So I don't think it's very complicated. It's just willing, and we just go for it. Everything in the law has given us the platform for which we can actualize that.
Now, some people have observed that holding 6 elections in one day has contributed significantly to some of the election day management challenges that have been witnessed in the past. What are these challenges? And then the other question is, other than changing, because we have those people who are proposing that we change the system, other than changing the law to provide for one election at a time, what can be done to address this challenge?
Even from my experience going out to vote in the last elections, you could see the logistical complication of, because you're supposed to be given all your 6 ballot papers at once. You go to your voting booth, you tick, and then you come and place them. And in most cases, the election officials had to sort of stand there to make sure that you're putting the ballot paper in the right place. We have done things like have it in different colors. So if it's women rep, it's pink, and there is actually a pink ballot box where you put in your pink paper. So I think those are some of the things that have been done. But progressive voter education is probably the only way we can sustain that as a way of voting. Like in good time, in preparation for the election, that we educate the masses about the various positions for which they have to vote. They have to vote. And then also maybe give leeway within, of course, the control of the agents and everybody, for election officials to sort of intervene, which I think they still do. You know, if they see you're just about to put governors in the president's box, they will intervene. Or maybe other regulations around how, especially people you think will not be able to deal with that matter themselves, just around allowing the election official and educating the masses about how to go about it. So you asked what I would suggest other than saying let us have the election on a different day for various positions. I think that was the next question.
But you can also maybe suggest if we should do it on a different day. What is your take?
Well, there is merit in that. There is merit in that because it would make it easier, but we'd have to weigh, you know, the cost of the election. Already we are looking at what is said to be a very expensive election in Kenya. So this need to just have the convenience of people voting more accurately because they are voting for less position, and the benefit that will come from that vis-a-vis the costs of holding elections on different days. And if it looks like it's too big a cost, then we go back to the other interventions, some of which I just mentioned, to just make it efficient in the way it is currently.
Thank you, Madam Ng'ang'a, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salonka. I'll now ask Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask some questions.
Okay, thank you, Chair. How are you, Caroline?
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. So I'll refer you to a problem the world is experiencing now, that is COVID-19.
Yes.
So COVID-19 has actually affected almost all institutions. Let me limit it to this country.
That's right.
If you are appointed as a commissioner and you are entrusted to continue with voter education the way you have said, so how would you ensure that there is business continuity by bringing in new tasks, new strategies, and innovative approach to work?
Luckily, Madam, is that a lot of has already been done. You know, we are already having meetings and so on. So a lot of technology has already come in place. So one of the ways would be to use technology. Instead of face-to-face voter education, we use the various available ways that have come up in the last 2 years about how people can still meet and communicate using technology. The other aspect of voter education that I think the Commission hasn't really capitalized on is social media. While I was getting ready, I went to see some of the things that the Commission does on its social media. And I found that it was mainly a notice board of sorts, so they'd say the things they are doing. And my experience running my business with a lot of intervention of social media in growing it and making my sales, I learned that people only are interested in the content of your social media if it's probably educative, in a way that they appreciate the education you're trying to give them. And if it is entertaining also, there are all these aspects of social media, and these days we've got a lot of experts in social media everywhere, that if we capitalized on that, then we will have covered the very big number of people who are on the various social media platforms. So the use of technology, the use of social media, mainstream media as well, it doesn't really have to be what it was that voter education is something that requires people to meet one-on-one. We have learned that we can still transact business and communicate without necessarily having to meet.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. My next question is on stakeholders. So collaboration with non-state actors, I believe you know who the non-state actors are. Yes. Is a very useful tool for voter education. To what extent should non-state actors collaborate and be involved in voter education?
The Elections Act actually requires the Commission to gazette regulations around who is involved in voter education. And I think this was mainly targeted at the non-state actors, and there are all these requirements that these non-state actors must comply with. And it's part of even dealing with the issues of budget and whether we have enough money and time to actually do the voter education. So I believe that non-state actors play a very critical role in voter education. They're able to do it continuously. They're able to do it in creative ways that are the specialities of other people other than the Commission. And just within the regulations that the Commission has already gazetted, then I think they would play an important role in voter education.
Okay, thank you. Caroline, I can see you have a lot of passion for this job. Yeah? So, if you are appointed today, how will you deal with the political parties and politicians without actually creating conflict? Because you talked of you are good at resolving issues.
Yeah. I did think about that, madam, you know. It's something you'll be alive to when you set yourself up to do a job like this. And these are the players, you know, there is no escaping from them. They are the primary stakeholders in an election process. So one of the primary skills you must have individually and collectively as a commission is how you're going to deal with the political parties and politicians and their usual way of trying to influence how things are done. And one of the things that was very alive and that came to my mind when I was reflecting about how that would pan out is if everybody thinks that, or at least believe that you're a fair referee, they will be restrained from trying to interfere with you. And I'll give an example. If you go to a traffic light and the light is working, and you know that if you wait for 2 minutes, your side will turn green and you can drive. You will wait patiently for the light to work. If you came and found the lights are orange, like is the case sometimes in Nairobi, naturally you go in. It doesn't matter whether there's somebody else coming. You go in, and before long there is commotion at the turn. I'd use that analogy to explain if the political parties and the politicians generally felt that the commission is fair, it would reduce the level of interference that they do. But the part that is still not reduced by your display and exercise of fairness and accountability, then that you have to do by really communicating with them. It still doesn't 100% eliminate. Then you must also be able to take the shock and the deals that come with that kind of commotion and remain cool and objective and consistently communicate. And if the law, regulations and everybody is on your side, then most of the time these people will be seen to be the ones who are not, who are just trying to propagate their own objectives. So it's just that everyone must understand the commission to be the place of fairness, the place of accountability. When we say this is what we are going to do, we end up doing it. You know, because one of the other things that came up as again I was reflecting on this is the primary cause of the problems we've had during election is because a lot of times, either by design or by some default, is changing the goalposts. You know, so we go into the election saying, this is how we are going to vote. This is how people are going to come to the polling station. After they close at this and this time, we are going to count and transmit and all that. And then halfway through that process, we change. We start to do other things. And what happens in that case is now the players start to see that this change is to my disadvantage. Some will think this change is to my advantage. So as much as is possible, the commission needs to communicate how things are going to be done including communicate how they will deal with it if there is need to change. There is, I think it is the regulation around technology by the IEBC that talks about an operation continuity plan, for example, where there is already a panel of people who in advance have anticipated what would happen, for instance, if the technology failed. If some of these are properly communicated to Kenyans and to the players, that this is how we have planned to do this thing. If we have, in management, I think they call it the doomsday plan. If there is doom on this day, this is how we are going to do plan A, this is how we are going to do plan B, there'll be confidence. But if we are trying to introduce plan B that Kenyans have never heard of at the heat of conflict and failure and all that, then they don't trust that this was really the plan. They will start to think that you are saying this to sort of safeguard a certain position that you have already taken. So if these things are communicated in advance, then I think the conflicts will be reduced. And at the end of the day, really there are people who are just troublesome, especially when they want to pursue their own objectives, sometimes selfish objectives. Even that, the skill to deal with those is something we must equip ourselves with as we move along.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. Caroline, as a youth, I believe I'm right to call you a youth.
You are.
Yeah, and I believe you have the interest of the youth at heart.
Yeah.
So what framework of stakeholder engagement would you prepare to promote inclusion of special interest groups, particularly the interests of the youth, in the electoral process, if you are elected as a commissioner?
One of the things about young people is that they have their own ways that they understand communication that is sent to them. So as a commission, and myself as a young commissioner, it would be my role to educate and to appraise my colleagues and the Secretariat on what I think would be the most efficient way to communicate with the youth, which is a lot of times not the traditional way we communicate. I earlier alluded to the use of social media, to the use of entertainment. If, for instance, you go to Twitter, there's a lot of humor, for example, and humorous tweets work very fast. So if the Commission can adopt such new ways of communicating with young people, that would be a great way to reach out to them. Also involving them in the activities of the Commission, and not just as clerks. If there is any other way we can bring the responsible people who have put themselves out and have a divergent collection of people serving even at higher levels of commission, then that would be great. I suppose even my being there as a young person would go a long way in communicating to the youth that they're actually included in what we are doing as a country.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I'll now request the Vice Chair to ask some questions.
Thank you, Caroline, for your incisive, that incisive and interesting conversation. Now, Caroline, looking at your CV, you say that in 2019, your business won an award as the most promising youth-run business in the country. Now, you have such a promising business enterprise. Why should you leave that area, which really contributes to productivity of the country and even employment of the youth that you're talking about, to come and join a body that is very much focused on political processes? What is the motivation?
Mr. Vice Chair, first of all, the benefit of being young is that you can do many things at the same time, or at least provide insight in many things at the same time. But Also, as you say, this is the one of the bodies that really chart the political path of our country at every election. And my business, without a proper governance structure and a working and thriving economy that can only come from us picking proper leaders, is nothing, you know, and it will not be there for long. So my business is now 4 years old. It is good enough. It has its own structure. It is good enough to deal and continue to serve the people who work there and our producers, and to continue thriving in the business. I just want a new challenge now. Still overall steered towards my contribution as a professional to the growth of our country, to just be at the front line in making things right, you know, in steering our country in a certain direction. So my business will be fine, and we have already put in place structures. In fact, I had already started to think I probably need to start a new business or a new challenge, because that one has already gotten a life of its own. So that really is a motivation. It's just an opportunity, another opportunity for me to serve, to contribute, to go to the front line in making things right.
I like that. You talk of a well-governed country. In that light, Caroline, what is your vision for Kenya, and how would a well-managed electoral process contribute to that vision? 3, if you are to become a member of the IEBC panel, how would you contribute to that overall vision in ensuring that we have a well-run and managed elections?
Okay. My vision for Kenya is that it will be a place where everybody has the opportunity to pursue their dreams. And that if you work hard, if you put the effort, then your effort will bear fruit. You don't have to know anybody or to have a godfather. That just that internal drive will offer every Kenyan child an opportunity to become their best. That is really my vision for the country. And leadership is everything. You know, there are jokes once in a while when we have a bit of political commotion. They say God gave Kenya everything, then look at the leaders that they got, you know. Because even in that set of jokes, there is actually quite some serious element to that statement. Because even if we had everything, and we know countries around the world that would be perceived to have everything in natural resources, in positioning around the globe and so on. But if leadership fails, then the country fails. In countries, for instance, look at Syria, you know, people went there as tourists. It was a thriving economy. Just issues around leadership, they go into war, there is no country to tell. Even the things that took people there are no longer there because they've been destroyed in turmoil. So leadership really is everything. For us to achieve that vision I just described for Kenya, we have to put in place leaders. Of course, the sovereignty is with the people, so they select the leaders that they want. Our job is to just educate them on what leaders are supposed to do for them to go and make an independent decision. So as a commission, our job is really to just make sure that when people present themselves...
Before you go to the commission, the second question was, how would well-managed elections contribute to that Kenya?
Well-managed elections would give Kenyans the leaders that they want, you know, without any interference and so on. So in that way, with leadership and hoping that Kenyans actually select good leadership, then that would propel us towards achieving the vision that I described.
Now, the role on the commission to make sure that happens, that we have good elections.
Yeah. I think what would be perceived as a good election is an election that leaves all the players feeling that they were actually given an opportunity to compete. And if they won on merit. Those who won on merit, and those who lost because the numbers were not in their favor. And for us to achieve that kind of election, one of the main elements would be transparency, that everybody understands how we are doing this thing from beginning to end, and that the commission does not deviate, as I described earlier, midway from what we have said is our path towards a transparent election. It must be also an election that is verifiable. You know, if I have a complaint, I am able to actually be convinced on merit that actually this was an election that was conducted in a transparent way. So IEBC is at the heart of providing leadership to the country, and we do that by just giving a credible election.
Assuming you're on the commission, you've been appointed successfully, you're on the commission, a situation arises where you're in a procurement process, a tender, you're just about to award tenders. You have two successful companies that have succeeded in moving forward to the point of the award level, and you're procuring technology for elections. In the process, the commission learns, or you learn, that one of the firms is associated with the chair of the commission and a local politician. Another firm is a local firm which actually has good technology in terms of after the technical vetting, has the best technology but more expensive. The other firm, which is associated with these people, these characters, is cheap technology but not quality. The commission is divided. Some members feel we go with the cheap technology anyway because it's cheap, we're going to save money. The others feel we need quality, irrespective, based on the past experiences of technology failures. There's tension, if you're not communicating, there are difficulties. How would you handle that situation?
Okay, so the first thing I see in that situation is a conflict of interest that has not been declared. So in one of the regulations by the IEBC, it was a requirement that firms that have an association with any political party, it was mainly speaking about political parties, that they should declare to the commission that they actually are associated or are providing services to political parties, so that the commission can independently see if there is conflict in that area. There is also the fact that the chair of the commission is associated with this firm. We are required as state officers, or when you have influence and you are participating in public procurement, to declare conflict of interest. So if this is a conflict that has not been declared, then it means that, of course, the chairman is hiding something, and it's the reason we are at that place anyway. So those are the two things I see in that first area of conflict of interest, and I will come to say how I think we should deal with it. The next issue is about cheap, quality, and all that. So in the procurement process, there is actually more weight given to quality in most cases. In some instances it is 50-50, but depending on what it is you're procuring, but quality and price are weighted in a decision prior to the sending out of the tender, and I think that situation would be resolved by that. By this cheap, it would be taken, signed off against a matrix that will have been prepared and issued and shared with the people carrying out the procurement process. So I think if that has not been done, then it also just means that the procurement process has not been done well, and that is sort of straightforward. You're just able to raise it, and now moving on to how to resolve such things. My experience has been that faced with facts, most people are not very courageous. It's just that when we want to go and argue our case, dialogue, discuss in a state of conflict, we are not disciplined enough to stick to the facts. So when emotions kick in, then they confuse what really is the conflict about. In a case like this, there is tension with colleagues and so on. The most efficient way I have seen to deal with situations like that, and it's been very successful, is to just do your research, and come and face colleagues with facts. Tell them this is the way it is. Most of the times they will bow, because unless they have a rejoinder, you've already faced them with the fact that this is the matrix we set up as far as what is the weight of quality compared to the weight of price. Has it been applied in this case? If the answer is no, what is the explanation? This is a company that is already giving service to political party A or B. Our regulations require that such conflict is declared in time. Have they done that? No. And really there is no conflict after that, because in a sober discussion, facts always prevail, as compared to where now you're not discussing and you're just throwing emotions around.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I will now request Reverend Father Mutia to ask some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Madam Caroline, allow me to take you through a few questions just to get to hear from you more. From your application, you stated that you have 12 years of experience in finance, accounting, management, consultancy, and a few other areas, which is also very, very good. And in your application also, or in your CV, you say that you are also doing your master's in applied philosophy and ethics at Strathmore University, actually, which is designed to help in examining and discussing the contemporary and perennial problems. Now, I'm bringing in an issue of corruption, the issue of corruption. Corruption has been a wound in this country, and it has really done a lot of damage to our economy. As a finance person in the last 12 years, kindly, what mechanisms have you ever put in place to see that in the institutions that you ever served did not lose monies through corruption?
Okay. So yes, as you say, corruption is a thorn in our society. It probably causes a lot of the problems that we see: poverty, lack of opportunities, and so on. So the question is, what are some of the things I have done in the areas where I have served to just make sure that this is not the case? First is creating a tone at the top. It's a cliche word that people use all the time, but it actually is the case. If you work in an organization where the directors, the bosses, are the ones taking allowances for trips they don't go to, or taking bribes from suppliers, it goes haywire, because you have no moral authority to question anybody on the things that they are doing, and so it just thrives on its own. So one of the things we've done, and it is more clearer to me at Tourism Fund because I am at the top, is that we have been very clear about how we deal with people who don't comply with the ethics and the tone we have created for the organization. And we have followed through with dealing decisively with people who do not comply. So that general environment you create where the people you're working with know, if I am to do this, I am going to be in a lot of trouble, assuming that they are actually inclined in that direction. And also now preserving yourselves and making sure that these levels of integrity that you're looking from everybody else working with you, it is something that you consistently practice. Other than that, it would be just the deterrence, the other sort of, other than the mood and the tone, the other deterrents that you put in place just to make sure that people toe the line. And this would be like what you have in your policies, in what you expect, what you make your staff and people working with you sign to. This would also help in creating an environment that is free of corruption. The final one that I have would be continuous education. Because I'm trying to deal with that philosophy degree, but it's one of those times I have realized that I'm actually a mathematician. So the philosophy it's very interesting. I like it, but they talk about human beings being either inherently good or inherently bad, and how you gear them towards the good in them. So by education, by talking to these people, by making them feel that they're actually part of the organization, you can implore more to the good side of them that every human being has inside, as we learn in philosophy.
Thank you. Madam Caroline, allow me also to ask you this. The Constitution of Kenya requires that all persons who are appointed to constitutional commissions take oath of the office. Is that true?
That's right.
What is the value of the oath of office to you?
I think the oath is sort of a way of you voicing the expectation, and there's something about voicing something with your own, Catholics like myself go for confession. One of the ways they say confession is a good thing is that you get to voice your sins. So you reduce the sins because you don't want to be voicing a lot of sins. So there's value in just voicing what you're committing to as you take office. But also there is putting yourself under the control of a higher being than yourself, That's why at the end you say, so help me God. Just acknowledging that the task that you have is something you want to do under the guidance of a being higher than yourself. So I think that's the other value. And also just communicating to the world when you take this oath as other people listen, communicating that this is really what you should hold me account for. This is what I commit to do as I take up this job. And if you see me deviating from that, then you can question me because I actually made this oath before everybody.
So that means that an oath is enforceable?
It is enforceable in the sense that when you commit to do those things and then you don't do them, to the extent that it actually amounts to breaking of the law or violating the Constitution, because you also commit to uphold the Constitution in actually most of the oaths. Yeah, so it is enforceable to the extent that you don't do what you actually say you will.
So what are some of the consequences of the breach of the oath of office?
Removal from office. I think when we look at all the ways that anyone, including a commissioner, can be removed from office, it's, for instance, violation of the Constitution. And how do they hold you to account that you have violated the Constitution? It's because as you took your oath, you committed to uphold the Constitution. So at this point, you're now liable for not keeping to your oath. Yeah.
So besides removal from office, there's no action that can be taken against you?
You removal from office, you can be prosecuted, but also I think you suffer social sentencing. You know, if I come before Kenyans and say that this is what I promise to do things in this kind of way, and I break that, then my standing in society, which sometimes for some people is even a bigger thing than any removal from office, then the consequence it makes you inclined to do what you actually promised in your oath of office.
Thank you. Madam Carol, we have received some information from the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators.
Yes.
That your membership is not in good standing. What can you tell this panel about this?
Okay. So I qualified as a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators about 4 years ago, and the rationale of keeping your membership in good standing is your participation in the activities of your professional body and so on, which I have not been able to do because I was dealing with this other work that I have. So my plan is that when I now get back into the practice of arbitration, then I will make good my membership. Otherwise, for now, I am a member of the institute. I was admitted to the institute, but I am not practicing in the trade. So for that reason, and it is only not in good standing to the extent of payment of subscription, because I was not actively participating in the activities of the association.
Thank you, Madam Karen. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Father. Ms. Ng'ang'a, we have come to the end of your oral interview. Maybe I can ask if you have anything you'd like to say to the panel at this time.
Yeah. It's just to really appreciate the opportunity to come and express myself and learn. As I was answering, there are more insights that came to mind, so it will probably be a continuous process for me to learn. It's also a good credit to the young people that you can actually pitch to be part of this if you have a solution, if you have passion. And even just coming this far is an encouragement to many young people around the country that you just need to set yourself out there and you will be noticed. So that's really great for me and I appreciate it. I look forward to serving.
Thank you for those comments, and I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the panel and on behalf of Kenyans as well to thank you so much for actually applying to serve in the position of IEBC Commissioner. We don't take it for granted and we wish you well. Now I'll request a member of the Secretariat to walk you out, and please ensure that you get back all your original certificates. Thank you, and I wish you a good rest of the day.
Thank you, and thank you very much, everyone. Yeah.
Please answer candidly, but also be precise because this is a timed interview. So with that, we are ready to start. And I'll start by asking you to share with us aspects of your career and experience that demonstrate that you would be the ideal candidate to be appointed as an IEBC Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Muchiru Kamindo. I am a researcher. I am a curriculum developer, an educator, and I'm an electoral practitioner. Madam Chairperson, allow me to briefly just tell the panel my journey, my career journey, starting with my academic experience. I hold a PhD degree in education policy and management from the University of Durham in the UK. A master's degree in education administration from Kenyatta University and a bachelor's degree from Kenyatta University. In terms of my career, I started my career as a graduate teacher in a school in Kajiado, where I was tasked with the responsibility of starting a department that was non-existing as a young graduate. And by the time I left, Madam Chair, that department was in place. Madam Chairperson, from teaching after my master's degree, I joined the Kenya Institute of Education, which is currently Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, in the Division of Research, Monitoring and Evaluation. It is at the Kenya Institute of Education that really I honed my skills in terms of leadership, in terms of teamwork, in terms of portraying that I have the potential to create an impact. And Madam Chairperson, probably at this point, I would want to say that my career path, and looking at what a commissioner is supposed to do at the IEBC, as somebody who has walked the path, because after the Kenya Institute of Education, where I rose from a program officer to the deputy director in charge of research, monitoring and evaluation, I had the opportunity to demonstrate. I had the opportunity to create impact, and I had the opportunity to lead teams. Madam Chairperson, in Kenya Institute of Education, I was able to create impact in terms of programs that have shaped the education sector in this country. For instance, at the very early stages when child labor was a problem in terms of participation, I was with a team of 3. We were able to do a proposal that helped the institute in terms of infusing child labor messages into the curriculum. And fast forward to the time that I became the deputy director in charge of research, monitoring and evaluation. The summative evaluation of the curriculum was actually vested in my docket, and I was able to at that time I was able to lead the process of evaluating the curriculum in this country, in the primary and secondary curriculum. And it's as a result of that summative evaluation that this country is now enjoying the curriculum-based competency-based curriculum that is actually changing the landscape of education in this country. At the Kenya Institute, at the IEBC, I joined IEBC as manager research and development, and it is at IEBC where I have been able to bring out my potential in terms of management of elections and the competencies that are needed. And to demonstrate this, Madam Chairperson, I would want to bring out my personal attributes that are very important in the conduct of elections. I am a very calm person. I'm resilient. I am a person who is, in the eyes of a storm, I am calm. I am a person who is adaptable to change. I am able to rally teams and focus on the goal that is at hand. And at the same time, I offer leadership, and this is demonstrated by the projects that I have read at the commission in the 11 years that I have been at the commission. First of all, where the development of the commission strategic plan is housed. And when I joined the commission, I I was tasked with the responsibility of initiating the first strategic plan for the Commission. And at the Commission, I have offered leadership in terms of sharing different committees, technical committees. I have interacted with the Commission, with the Secretariat, and in the face of the conduct of elections, Madam Chair, I have been very, very instrumental in identifying gaps that are in the process, because research is vested in the docket which I lead, and those gaps, the gaps that exist, identification of those gaps is what has brought about improvement in the electoral process. Madam Chairperson, apart from leading the team that has developed the first, the second, and the third strategic plan, I want to pride myself in having steered projects in the Commission that have had an impact, not just in the country, but outside the country. Allow me to mention two of those projects. One is the pilot testing of the International IDEA election management tool. This is a tool that was being piloted by the International IDEA in order to identify risks in the electoral process, and we were lucky that Kenya was chosen as one of the countries that was going to pilot the tool, and I was able to offer leadership to oversight the implementation of that project, and at the end of it all, it was successful, and it has now, because of the success of its implementation, it was adopted by the African Union as in the use in the member states, and I had the opportunity of interacting and inducting other EMBs in Africa, in North Africa, SADC countries, in ECOWAS countries, in the use of the tool. The other one is the election security arrangement project that has shaped the election security in this country, because for the first time it brought the security sector and the Commission together to plan for electoral security, and this has improved the way business in terms of securing our elections has actually been conducted. Madam Chair, other attributes that I do have an experience is in terms of international exposure. I have been lucky to observe elections in many African countries, and therefore I have been able to bring to the Commission experiences, good lessons that we have adopted, because after every observation mission, and I have observed elections in this country, in the African continent, in different countries, I have been able to bring experiences, the do's and the don'ts, and some of them have actually been incorporated to improve our processes. In terms of where I sit, I have been with the Commission for the last 11 years, and having been there for 11 years and having interacted, because as the person in charge of monitoring the implementation of strategy that the Commission has set, implementation of the policies, I have a bird's eye view of the whole commission. That is the Secretariat. I understand the Secretariat. I understand the commission because, Madam Chairperson, as I present papers to the board, to the commission, I do interact with them. In order for me to be able to guide in the development of the strategic plan, I have to interact with the commission so that I'm able to get their thinking and then build that into a proposal, into a draft that is presented to them for adoption. Madam Chairperson, when it comes to understanding the Secretariat, having lived that life in the Secretariat, I do understand where the gaps are. I do know what is it that can inspire, what is it that can make the Secretariat more productive in terms of ensuring that the policies, the strategies that the commission sets are actually delivered for the better of this country. Madam Chairperson, elections are stressful. They cause a lot of pressure. I am one person who actually is able to withstand pressure, and I'm able to rally my teams, the teams that I've worked with, even in very, very difficult situations, to focus on the goal and to minimize the pressure that they feel. And Madam Chair, maybe one thing that Kenyans may not know is that the Commission has a very high turnover of staff. And why does this happen? This happens because there are quite a number, there's a lot of pressure that is created by the environment that the staff work under. And because of that, it is important that the Commission understands the environment, understands the people that the people that are supposed to implement the agenda, and I feel and I believe I will be an interface between the Secretariat and the Commission. Madam Chairperson, in addition to being able to understand, or in addition to what I'm going to bring to in terms of understanding the Secretariat, my international networks are very important. I have built networks internationally, electoral networks, and these are networks that at the Commission level I would be able to use to make IEBC a better commission. And Madam Chair, in terms of inspiring staff, in terms of building them, in terms of making them believe that the Commission is behind them, in making them believe in they have a fallback, and so that they can concentrate on the work that they are doing, knowing that there's a body that is there to actually shield them. There's a body that is there that is going to make them to help them bring out the best out of who they are. And then, Madam Chairperson, I believe and I know that with my background in policy development, policy implementation, then I'll be implementing what I understand. For instance, the Commission has just launched the 2020-2024 strategic plan, which I have steered. So in terms of implementing the Commission's strategies, that the vision that the Commission has set, I will be I'll be oversighting what I understand, and therefore I'll be able to give guidance to the Secretariat. I'll be able to share with my colleagues, my commissioner colleagues, in terms of the insights, and especially if appointed, I'll be among 3 other new commissioners. I'll be happy, I'll be glad to induct them, although the induction will not be part of my official responsibility. It will be good to share with my colleagues the insights that would help us shape the commission and make it a better commission. I leave impact in whichever area that any task that I've been assigned to, and I have a track record of having done and facilitated programs that have actually made a difference in this country. And given an opportunity, I am confident that I'll be able to make the commission a better commission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kamindo. Maybe you can confirm if you are a registered voter?
Yes, I am a registered voter, Madam Chairperson.
Okay. Where did you vote in the last election?
I voted in Thika Town Constituency, Heshima Primary School polling station.
Thank you. I'll now request Mr. Morris Kimuli to ask you a few questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Secretary, we looked at the answer you provided for your case study.
Yes.
And one of the issues you raised in your case study is the question of management of the voter register. And you referred to the need to respect the applicable timelines and guidelines in the management of the voter register. Now, what are these timelines you are referring to in your case study?
Thank you for that question. The voter register is a very important document in the credibility of an election, and it's guided by law. First of all, it is a continuous process. Voter registration is a continuous.
What law? Which law? You say it's guided by law.
Yes.
Which law?
The Elections Act is specific about the register of voters.
What does it say?
Continuous voter registration. It allows for verification of the voters register, gazettement of the cleaning of the voters register, and gazettement of the register of voters.
Does the law say in what form IEBC shall keep the voter register? Keep and maintain the voter register?
Yes. The IEBC is supposed to maintain a clean voter register and in electronic form, and also in hard copy form.
So in essence, therefore, when we talk about access and inspection of the voter register,
yes,
it means that it should be accessible in the physical and also in virtual form.
Yes.
Now, at what time, by law, is IEBC supposed to allow inspection of the voter register?
Actually, the inspection of the voter register is supposed to be a continuous process. We have two processes. We have the inspection and we have the verification. The verification is a continuous process because a voter can actually walk into a polling station and verify their details in a registration center where they were registered in the constituency. When it comes to the inspection of the voters register, this is done before a general election, because it is after the processing of the register has been processed. that it is made available for inspection, so that the voters can actually verify their details. They can certify that the details that they have are actually correct, and that should be 6 months before the general election.
Now, what is the purpose of, you say that the purpose of verification is to know whether your details are okay.
Yes.
Now, what about when there is a by-election? Are you supposed to verify before you go to vote whether your details in the voter register are okay?
When there is a by-election, there is ring-fencing of registration, meaning there are no new registrations that take place in that particular electoral area, and there's no harm, and there's nothing that stops a voter from walking to a polling to a constituency office to verify their details of their registration details. There's nothing that would stop a voter from doing that.
What I'm asking is whether IEBC has the legal framework to allow, just as it is done during a general election, to allow inspection and verification of the details before a by-election.
No.
Do you think that is necessary?
I
think it's necessary for members of the public who are going to vote in a by-election to be allowed?
Given the fact that when there is a by-election, the expectation is that it's the members, the people who are registered, and this would apply if the by-election is actually caused by a petition, a successful petition. But I think, in my own opinion, it would be a good practice if the by-election is as a result of any other causes other than a petition, because in a by-election that is caused by a petition, then it is expected that it's those voters who voted in the previous election that will be participating in the by-election, and that is why the registration is actually stopped.
Now, you say that the register also exists in the virtual form. Does that mean that for me to inspect and to verify my details, I do not have to walk to IEBC offices?
What I said is that the register is kept by IEBC in a digital form.
Let me just be straight to the point. If I want to verify my details and I want to do it virtually, especially during this time, is there a platform that exists for doing that?
Yes, it exists, but the platform that exists does not give all the details that you'd want to verify as a voter.
Now, the responsibility to manage and keep and make available the voter register to the public, is it a responsibility of the Commission or is it a responsibility of the Secretariat?
It is the responsibility of the Secretariat.
And you've been in the Secretariat for how long?
11 years.
Is this a question perhaps you have raised in terms of managing the legal policy regarding this matter? In the 11 years you have worked with the Commission?
Thank you for that question. After every process takes place, there's monitoring and there's evaluation of that process. And the issue of the voter register, the registration and the issue of voter register has actually been flagged out as one of the areas that need improvement, that need to be enhanced.
So in essence, what you're saying is that where you are in the Secretariat, you are able to originate legal policy towards addressing the voter register, and you don't necessarily need to be a commissioner to do that.
What in my understanding, what happens is when a gap is identified that could affect the conduct of election, There is the relevant directorate that is in charge. For instance, the case that you're addressing, there's the directorate of legal and public affairs, and when the gap is identified, that directorate is supposed to come up with a proposal, present it to the relevant mechanisms in the commission, present it to management. From management, it goes to the committee, to the legal committee. From the legal committee, it goes to the commission.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there is a lot you can do when you are in the Secretariat, not just necessarily in the commission. There's a lot you can do.
True.
And the law allows you to do a lot.
Yes, it is true.
Now, whose role is it to originate policies on, to originate the activity of boundary delimitation? Is it the Secretariat or the Commission?
It is the commission, because the boundaries, the delimitation of electoral boundaries is actually one of the mandate of the commission.
Does the Secretariat have a role by law in boundary delimitation?
The Secretariat will implement the policies and the strategies that the commission is going to develop. So
Now,
if they have the implementation role.
Just one last question, Daktari. Some of the boundaries that are delimited are boundaries between two counties.
Yes.
Does IEBC have the power to determine county boundaries? And if it does, under what law? If it doesn't, who has that responsibility? And what would then happen if there is a dispute between two counties?
Madam Chairperson, the question of disputes in electoral boundaries, in boundaries, both electoral and administrative, is very, very emotive. And from where I sit, we receive those disputes, both administrative.
Let me just help you. I'm asking about county boundaries.
Yes.
County boundaries, which also coincide with constituency boundaries. Do you have, by law, the jurisdiction, or who has the jurisdiction?
The county boundaries are not a mandate of the commission, because they are administrative boundaries.
Whose mandate is it?
The county, it's the mandate of it's the county, the administrative boundary is actually outside the mandate of the IEBC, and it's the mandate of the Ministry of Interior in Interior, because they actually delimit, they actually are the ones who are responsible for administrative boundaries.
Thank you. Just look at Article 188 of the Constitution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kimuli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask a few questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Kamindo, karibu tena.
Asante.
Yeah, Dr. Kamindo, with your qualifications and experience, they are no doubt significant. And with you being there, I wouldn't expect anything to have gone wrong during the last elections. Now, in the 2017 presidential petition, the courts found significant electoral irregularities that warranted the nullification of the presidential election. Right. Madam Kamindo, you are the head of the team on the Tallying Center at Bomas. Maybe you could share your experience with us at what could have gone wrong.
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah, for that question. The Bomas of Kenya was the National Tallying Center for the 2017 general election. My role as the coordinator of the Tallying Center was actually to coordinate the different teams. The National Tallying Center comprises of different activities or different components. One is the results processing. The second one is the media center. The third one is the call center, both for external and internal calls, and the welfare, the security. My role was to coordinate and make sure there is seamless operations within all these different units of the tallying center. That is the role that I had.
Yes, I do appreciate that, but I'm referring you to that some irregularities, and I'm sure being there and coordinating this, maybe you could share what could have gone wrong.
Thank you, Dr. and Madam Chair. The irregularities that were highlighted by the Supreme Court of Kenya were mainly to do with the transmission of results. Transmission of results, excuse me, the transmission of results for the presidential.
We could have some water.
You can take a moment and can someone assist, please?
Sorry for that. It's okay. The transmission of results is a factor, is a sum total of many factors. And if I remember correctly, one of the issues was the fact that the commission was unable to transmit the presidential results and also offer other mechanisms for the same. Now, in terms of transmission, it's actually affected by factors that may be beyond the commission. For instance, there was the question of some polling stations that did not manage to transmit. It is in this country there are areas that do not have the infrastructure to support the transmission of results. Because the results are transmitted in form of text, and they are transmitted in form of an image, where the results form is actually the photograph is the result form is scanned and transmitted. Now, those areas which do not have a 3G network are not able to transmit, and what would appear as a failure of transmission is failure of infrastructure, and it is something that the commission has addressed. All the issues that were highlighted by the Supreme Court of Kenya, the commission has taken note of that, and they are being addressed progressively. And I want to believe that with the other stakeholders who have a stake in this infrastructure, we'll be having better transmission of results.
Thank you for that explanation. Now, if you are appointed a commissioner at the IEBC, what can be done to improve accountability structure and ensure personal responsibility for actions and decisions within the commission?
Come again.
If you are appointed a commissioner at IEBC, and you seem to know the whole structure, but what I'm seeing could be missing is enforcement and personal responsibility for action done at the commission. What would you do because I'm sure this could be part of your research, what would you do in order to put mechanism where people are held responsible for action and decisions?
Madam Chairperson, if appointed a commissioner at the IEBC, one of the things that I would do is, and actually it is in a strategic plan, is strengthening the corporate governance of the commission. For instance, the decision-making process, strengthening the committees of the commission. Secondly, holding people, mechanisms for holding people accountable for decisions and actions that they make. And I think that is already there. What needs to be done is to enhance that accountability in terms of, for instance, if it is at the headquarters, where directorates will have to give quarterly reports to the relevant committees of the commission, and that translates it is transmitted to the commission, so that the commission can be able to identify any gaps that could be existing that could forestall the implementation of some of the strategies that they have set.
Thank you, Doctor. Next one. Political influence or attempts to infiltrate the IEBC through a commissioner is a risk that past commissions have failed. What can the commission do to mitigate this risk? Interference by political individuals or parties.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Dr. Abdallah. I think it's very clear what the commission is supposed to do in terms of carrying out its business. The independence of the commission is entrenched in the Constitution, and if people followed the law, the rules and the procedures, I don't think there should be any room for interference and interference by the political class.
Yes, Doctor, but those laws have been there, and they're still there, but there's still interference. Daktari, I may not share your view, because unless there is evidence that there is interference, most of the times it can be perception, and what we need to appreciate is that the political class, the candidates, the parties are very, very strong stakeholders of the commission, and the commission cannot be able to ignore them. But it is up to the commission to have mechanisms to make sure that the law is followed. It carries out its business according to the law. And that will shield it from any interference. And of course, bearing in mind that somebody who holds the office of a commissioner at the IEBC is supposed to be a person of integrity, is a person who is supposed to be above board. Right. Yes, Doc. I'm sure you are aware that the IEBC Commission have experienced negative publicity and a negative public image. What do you think this is so?
Thank you for that question, Madam Chair. It's true that negative publicity, low ratings of the commission have been there, and having been in the commission for 11 years now, what I think is, and I believe is what may be causing this negative publicity, and also low rating of the commission among the Kenyans. One is communication. And when I talk about communication, I'm looking at a commission where Kenyans know, Kenyans understand. If, for instance, the commission had a very good, robust communication strategy where it actually works with the Kenyans in all its activities, the Kenyan public would not be having misinformation or misunderstanding of the commission. For instance, technology is one of the areas where the commission is completely, an area that is completely misunderstood. And all Kenyans do not have enough information. As a commissioner at IEBC, I would want to see a policy, strategies that are going to open up the commission to the Kenyan public. And how can this be done? We could have, for instance, a technology week where Kenyans can interact with electoral technology so that this mystery of what the technology can do is actually is actually removed and people understand. If it is the issue of what happens to your vote when you vote, many Kenyans, once they come and cast their vote, they may not understand the process that goes on until that vote results into showing their will by electing the leader of their choice. So that mystery needs to be removed, and it needs to be removed by having a very good communication policy, setting strategies that are going to open up the commission to the public so that there's no mystery. Because I believe it is the mystery, is lack of that understanding, lack of knowing that makes people think the commission is mysterious.
Thank you, Doc. So I hope, I wish you all the best and hope that you will use all those research lessons and teachers so we can have a good elections. Thank you and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah. I will now request Mr. Kimuli, no, sorry, not Mr. Kimuli, Mr. Gideon Solonka to ask a question.
Thank you, Madam Kamindo, for your answers. I want to begin by referring to you to a text in your application where, and I will read word for word what you said, that trust in an election management body is an important aspect in enhancing credibility of an election. Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember.
Okay. Now, the commission, after every election, and there is some linkage with what panelist Dr. Abdallah has asked you. After every election, and you're in this country, has been under attack from political class for bungling elections, threatening their removal. Okay? Every election, you remember the Kivuitu Commission, you remember the Hassan Commission, and now the Chebukati Commission.
Yeah.
After an election, everybody is saying these people must go.
Yes.
Now, if appointed as a commissioner, what measures will you seek to initiate to stop this narrative?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the question is very interesting because I think it's something very unique to the Kenyan environment. They must go after every election. What causes it? What causes this and I think you read it correctly, is the lack of trust in the electoral process, or lack of trust in the people who are conducting the election. Madam Chairperson, when you look at Kenya as a country and how we conduct our elections, the question of trust is pertinent, not just to the commission or to the election management body, but to the Kenyan Republic, to the Kenyan public. And I am going to repeat to relate what I answered when I was answering Dr. Abdallah's question. The question of the commission being open to the public. And by no means, I'm not saying that it's not now open, but there needs to be an enhancement. Distinguished panelists, you're conducting this interview in public. So the Kenyans are seeing the people who are being recruited. And when they are finally recruited, when they get to, you get the best. But when they get to the election management body, why do they become questionable? Why do Kenyans question them? And yet, there's a very competent panel that recruits. I think this is the only country where the commissioners are taken through such a rigorous process of recruitment. But at the end of the day, they end up being mistrusted by the very people whom they are serving. One thing that I would really propose to cure this, other than the communication, is the stakeholder engagement. We have very key stakeholders, the political parties, the candidates, the candidates who contest elections. And most of the times, this mistrust is actually a product of dissatisfaction with the results that the commission has announced. And strongly engaging the stakeholders in the processes, and especially the political class, would be a very important step towards curing that. And I'm not saying it is going to be the cure completely, but it is a step towards that. Then we also need, as a country, to accept, to have a culture of accepting that we get into a competition to win or to lose. There must be a winner.
Dr. Kamindo?
Yes.
You've alluded to a very important issue, that why Kenyans do not trust is because of the issue of results.
Yes.
Now, are you telling Kenyans that it is impossible to give verifiable, accurate results in an election? Because that is the only thing.
Mr. Solanka, it's very, very possible to do that. The mechanisms are there, but even when the mechanisms are there, and the commission, and by no chance the commission did not send me here to defend it. I'm giving my own opinion on what would work. Even when the mechanisms of giving credible, verifiable results are there, and they are there. I'm going to demonstrate to you why I think there's it is possible, and it has been done. When results are announced at the polling station, first of all, the whole process at the polling station is witnessed by by agents of parties and candidates. They are observers. Finally, when at the polling station the counting is done and the results are announced, and there are results forms that record the results as they are in presence of the agents, and the agents are required to sign that actually these are the results of that polling station. They do it. After that form, the agents are actually given that form. They are given a copy of that form, and they take it with them. It is left at the polling station. It is in the box, and it is that result form that it's actually transmitted. So if anybody wanted to verify the accuracy, the correctness of those results, those copies are available, because it is that result form that is actually transmitted, and it's what is used to declare the results once they are tallied. So the mechanisms are there, but the lack of knowing what mechanisms are there is what could actually create that mistrust. And I think by that openness, by stakeholder engagement, it's going to progressively help in terms of removing that must go.
So in other words, the mistrust is misplaced. It is not based on reality.
I don't want to say, Mr. Solonka and Madam Chair, that the trust is misplaced, because what you don't know, you can form any perception about it. And that is why I'm advocating for that openness, so that when your opinion is not shaped by what you do not know.
Thank you. Let's move on. Now, do you trust the current election management body yourself as you sit there?
Mr. Solonka and Madam Chair, I do trust, because I know the mechanisms are there to deliver credible elections.
Thank you. Now, you are speaking to Kenyans. Can you score IEBC performance on the conduct and supervision of elections? Out of 100, what will you give them?
Probably you can rephrase or the question, because I'm saying
that you've now been invited.
Yes.
You know how IEBC has been conducting and supervising elections, and you are told out of 100, score them. How will you score them?
From an insider's point of view, I would score them 80%.
80%?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Now, let's move to another issue which is more touchy, especially now that we are moving to the next general election. And this is on Article 88.4 of the Constitution, and also the Election Campaign Financing Act, which mandates the Commission to regulate the amount of money that may be spent by or on behalf of a candidate or party in respect of any elections. How will you ensure that candidates and political parties stick to the campaign financial limits set by the Commission? How will you ensure?
Thank you for the question, and Madam Chair. Campaign financing is a tricky field, and not just in Kenya, world over. First of all, the law is there, but the regulations to implement it are not there. So until the regulations, Parliament avails the regulations to operationalize the Campaign Financing Act, it will be difficult to put in place the policies that are supposed to guide its implementation.
So are you saying that in the next general elections, the act will the act will not be applicable?
Madam Chair, I am not saying that because the Commission has submitted drafts of the regulations to Parliament. So as soon as Parliament provides the regulations, the Commission will be able to do that. Will be able to guide.
Now, in the draft regulations that you have presented or to Parliament, which you are waiting for approval, how will you ensure that campaign finances are not used to bribe or in any way induce voters to vote in a certain manner? Do we have provisions in that, in the regulations on how that can be enforced?
Thank you, Mr. Sononka and Madam Chair. Like I said in the beginning, the enforcement of the Campaign Financing Act is not an easy task, and it has not been easy even in other countries, but because there's provision for the expenditure items in the regulations, I want to believe it will be possible to a big extent to do that.
Now, if you become commissioner, what will you do to ensure that piece of legislation is crucial? What will you do to ensure that as we go to 2022 elections, we have all these things in place so that our elections are controlled, the monies used in campaigns are controlled? What will you do as commissioner?
Thank you. As a commissioner in IEBC and in respect to the Campaign Financing Act and its enforcement, one of the most important aspect of enforcing any law is actually a buy-in from the stakeholders. In this respect of the campaign financing, we are talking about the people who are contesting the elections. We are talking about the candidates. We are talking about the parties. So for me, as a commissioner, it would be very important to engage the very people who are supposed to be the very people who we are supposed, as a commission, we are supposed to ensure that they do not overspend, and this would be very important, because when you come up, although the act is there, the regulations are there, but the commitment of the stakeholders, the commitment of those people who the act is for, would be very, very important. For me, that is one thing that I would really want to see.
We read news, and we've heard the chair of IEBC speak of having parallel tallying centers. Is that correct?
Thank you. I do not think the commission mentioned parallel tallying center. He talked about having parallel storage sites, not tallying centers. Because the tallying centers they're actually three in terms of the stages. We have the constituency tallying center, we have the county tallying center, and the national tallying center.
So you're saying that here we are talking of parallel what?
If what you're talking about is, Madam Chair, is what I understand, And if I can jog my memory, when the commission of the chairman of the commission talked about having servers at different sites, so that what happened in 2017 may not happen.
So maybe you can just tell Kenyans what that means, having parallel servers, and whether it is anchored in law.
What it means is, I'm not an expert in technology, and I'm giving my answer as a lay person, but a person who also have an understanding of the commission. What that means is that they are different sites. So even if this one fails, there's still an alternative from a layman's point of view.
Thank you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solonka. At this point, I'll ask Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask her questions, and Dr. Kamindo, I will request that you try and be more precise in your responses. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I will try.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Dr. Kamindo, I'd like to refer you to the case study. There is the response you gave in regard to the 1 million dead voters who are in the register. So that was your own response, and you said that to address it, you will establish trust amongst the stakeholders by responding to the issue which has been identified, that is, dead voters in the register. So what, in your view, do you think is the cause of this? Why are we having dead voters in the register?
Thank you, Madam Mayo and the chairperson. From where I sit in terms of the register of voters, registration is a continuous process. Of voters is a continuous process. At the same time, cleaning of the register is a continuous process. But we are also alive to the fact that Kenyans, people die even on the election day, there are people who are in the register who will die. So one of the reasons why we could have the voters who are deceased and they are still in the voters register is because of the process that is supposed to be taken to remove somebody from the register, because you have to be sure that this person is actually deceased. And how is that done is by getting data from the registration bureau through one of the ways is through the chiefs, because the chiefs also have that data. The commission also requests that data from the registration bureau, and then it is transmitted to the constituency registration officers, and they are expected to now counter-check, because every death is registered with the chief. They are supposed to counter-check, and once they ascertain that that person is actually dead, they can remove the person from the register. But it has to be very, very certain that the person is dead, and bearing in mind that death will occur every other day, then we will have deceased people in the register, even on the election day.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kamindo. So in line with your response, you have brought it out very clearly that you rely also on data from other institutions, so there are dependencies to what you are doing. So what reform can you bring on board to create effectiveness in cleaning the voter register?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Mayor. One of the reforms that would be very, very important is actually, and it has happened in other jurisdictions, is actually linking the civil register with the electoral register, and not and by saying this, the commission will not be delegating its role or its mandate to another, but this register of the civil register will be used as a base data for the voter register to ensure, to counter check. Yeah.
So what kind of communication will you give your stakeholders so that you can establish that trust? Yeah, such that when people are going to vote, I know I'll get my name in the register.
Come again, please.
I believe you are aware of cases where people go to the polling station and they're told your name does not exist.
Yes.
So what kind of communication can you give out there to the people that will help them know that when I go to the polling station, I will not be turned away?
Thank you for that question, and I think it's a very important question for the Kenyans. First of all, what happens is that you go to your registration is done biometrically, and there's also a manual registration, because you fill a registration form, and that registration form captures your details. Then your biometrics are taken in form of registration. So if you go to the polling station and your biometrics, for one reason or the other, you're not able to be identified using the biometrics, there is the complementary method that relies on the hard copy to be able to identify the voter. And for that, there is also a form that is filled so that this, for the people to get a record of the people who are identified using the complementary method, so that the process is not abused. So I don't think somebody will miss in both. It's highly unlikely if they were registered.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So on your work experience, you indicated that your strength is in strategic communication, strategic planning, am I right?
Yes, strategic planning.
Curriculum development and supervision.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are attributes that are actually needed in IEBC.
Yeah.
So on development of voter education curriculum, what will you include in this curriculum, and how will you enhance supervision to ensure that implementation of what you've put in place is actually being done according to the timelines you've put there, and you are getting actually what you put in the curriculum?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Mayor. Curriculum development is actually my strength, because I learned theoretically and also practically in terms of, and I want to inform this panel that I was a lead facilitator in the development of the current curriculum for voter education. And one important aspect of any curriculum is the content that you put in there, and to make sure that the education, the voter education curriculum is addressing the needs of the Kenyans and what the commission would want to educate the Kenyans on. Already, we have done an assessment of the impact of the current voter education, whether it's addressing the needs of the Kenyans and the needs of the commission, and identification has already been done. For instance, in terms of the strategies, content on strategies that the commission is going to use in the delivery of voter education. It is very clear that the voter education has to be targeted. It is not a one fits it all. And once that has been done and the curriculum is reviewed, then the training of the people who are going to deliver this curriculum is very, very important, because you can have a very good curriculum, but if the trainers, if the people who are supposed to deliver it actually are not grounded, it is not going to solve the problem. It's not going to meet its objective. So the training, having the correct curriculum support materials, that are going to help these trainers in terms of delivery, and of course packaging it in a way that is going to be appealing to the different cadres of aspects of the society.
Thank you, Dr. Kamindo. Remember, as a commissioner, your role is to give oversight.
Yes.
You will not go down to the ground to do actual training. So how will you ensure that what you have planned and put in place is being done? That's what I'm asking.
When the commission sets a policy and the strategies, which I believe it will be a voter education policy, and the strategies to deliver that policy. The respective directorate that is supposed to oversee or to implement that policy is supposed to give quarterly reports in terms of where they are to management. Then from management, it goes to the committee, the relevant voter education committee, and then the relevant voter education committee actually then takes presents the same to the commission, and the commission is able to make a decision whether this is going on well, are there gaps, and if there are gaps, what can it do as a commission to help the Secretariat implement that. So quarterly reports, annual reports, and then there's of course the final evaluation of the impact of the.
So ideally, you are talking of a monitoring and evaluation framework.
Yes, and framework.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll now request the Vice Chair to ask some questions.
Yes, Dr. Kamindo, I'll be very brief. You know the meaning of the word impunity?
I want to believe I do.
What does impunity mean in a position of leadership?
Thank you, Mr. Ashoka. What I think impunity means in a position of leadership is when, as a leader, you disregard the laid down rules and procedures, and you act like there are no rules. That's my understanding.
Thank you. Perfect, a perfect answer. Now, in 2017, according to your own words, the Commission was unable to transmit presidential results. Now, the fundamental role of an electoral body is to transmit, especially those results. If the Commission failed to do this, what, in your position, do you think ought to have happened?
Thank you, Mr. Ashoka. Madam Chair, allow me to make a correction in the statement that the distinguished panelist has made in terms of the Commission failed to transmit. What I said was, in some occasions, in some instances, the results were not transmitted because of lack of infrastructure. And I gave the example of areas where you will be able to make a voice call, but you will not be able to transmit heavy data because the area is not supported by 3G, at least 3G infrastructure. That's what I meant.
I understood that. You even told us, you just said, when you're answering panelist Gideon's question, that you not wish to see the problems the Commission had in 2017 recur. And most of those problems, actually the biggest problem, was to do the transmission of results of the presidential elections. Now, this is what you call fatal failure in terms of responsibility, because if that is your principal responsibility and you fail, what one would expect is you take responsibility. in this case, Kenyans would have expected that not just the commission, but also personnel responsible for key issues relating to the tallying and transmission of results took responsibility. By that I mean actually resigned. Now, we didn't see this happen, probably except in one case. What was your position as the head of the tallying center, the coordinator of the tallying center? What view did you take? What was your position on this?
Thank you. In terms of, and I think Madam Chair did point out this, the tallying center has different components that apt to make that are there to make it functional.
What I mean is that tallying is tallying results, and that's the tallying center of presidential results. If the tallying center is not able to provide Kenyans with accurate, verifiable results, transmit and whatever, then what's the role of the tallying center? Fine, okay. I just put you a situation. Now you're a member of the commission.
Yes.
Supposing you successfully get appointed. Then there's a problem, there's a computer hitch in the transmission of results. Because of that, the commission is not able to verify results and declare the winner of the presidential elections. And you only have 1 day to decide what would you do. Now you are in the...
Thank you, Mr. Shokat and Madam Chairperson. Technology fails, and that is a fact, and you have said there could be a hitch. And I think in terms of what the commission, or as a commissioner, what I would do is to communicate that to the members of the public. And I want to take an example of what happened in 2010 when we were preparing for the referendum, and the register of voters was put out there, and in the morning when the Kenyans were supposed to go and verify their details, it was discovered a very huge part of the register had actually not been printed. And what the commission did that time is they actually called a press conference immediately to tell the Kenyans, this is what has happened. We are doing ABCD to address it. That is the approach that I would take, because once you do not communicate and you may be trying very hard to address the issue, but without communication, it's going to create a lot of mistrust. So for me, it is telling the Kenyans, being open, this is what has happened, this is the problem that we are facing, and this is what we are doing towards solving the problem. I think that would help.
Thank you, Dr. Kamindo.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I'll now request Reverend Father Muchiru to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Captain Kispa. Allow me to also... Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Sorry for that. Allow me to take you through a few more questions. In regards to your CV, in your biodata, you have an experience
experimental in many areas. It looks like it's an anger management class taking place on Zoom.
So tell me, where are you connecting from today? I'm here in Nairobi. Actually, I'm in
one of your sentiments, you said that informed citizens are more likely to make informed choices at the ballot, while well-trained electoral officials enhance credibility of elections by following the right procedures. I continue from where my sister and brother came from and ask, our elections are marred with a lot of malpractices. In your opinion, who is to blame? Is it the uninformed citizenry or the untrained electoral personnel?
Thank you, Father. And Madam Chairperson, you said that our elections are
marred with a lot of malpractices. There's a lot of there are issues that emerge during our elections, and this is quite open everywhere. Sometimes this is missing, sometimes that is, there are issues that emerge during elections. Even in the process, who is to blame? According to your quote, you said it well, that informed citizens make informed choices. But the informed citizens, but also the trained electoral officials enhance credibility. I'm looking at who is to blame when there is no credibility.
Thank you, Father and Madam Chair. Credibility of an election is a sum total of very many factors. One, informed citizens. When citizens are informed, when they make informed choices, and this starts from understanding why do they vote? What does the vote mean to them? Which is part of civic education and to a large extent also voter education, because if we want them to be able to make good informed choices in terms of leadership, then that is actually something that is included in the voter education. The citizens also are informed in terms of when they are going to make those choices, what are the processes? When they understand the processes, for instance, if it is when they are deciding whom to vote for, are they deciding because of as an incentive that they were given, or are they deciding because they believe that this person is the person who can be able to represent represent them effectively? So the citizens have to be taken through a process to understand what it means to cast their vote and the process and the outcome. When it comes to the trained poll officials, like I said in the beginning, elections are complex. Their conduct of election is a complex process, and training of electoral officials is a very important component in terms of ensuring that this complex issue is actually dismantled into small, understandable, and doable issues. Let's take, for instance, the temporary poll officials who the Commission has to rely on. And these are the people who conduct the elections at the polling station. There are procedures that they are supposed to follow from the time in the opening, during, and the last and the last part of after the voting. There are forms and documents that they are supposed to fill. If these officials are trained well, and I want to pride myself that I was instrumental in proposing that we introduce assessment of the poll officials so that we can get the best. If they are well prepared using a well-defined curriculum, they are trained by good, well-trained trainers, they are likely to get the concepts, they are likely to be able to do what they are supposed to do and do it effectively. And I can actually attest to the fact that from the time the strategy of training of the poll officials was changed from just having a mass of officials that you put in a hall and you train into cascaded training, where we have master trainers, a pool of very experienced election officers who now train the trainers of trainers, who go down to train the poll officials in small clusters, and assess them, grade them. The training has, the conduct, the performance has actually improved. We are having less errors in the filling of the forms and the other administrative documents.
Thank you, Daktari. Are you aware of the values and principles of public service?
Yes, I am aware, Madam Chair and Reverend Father.
Daktari, can you mention just that two?
There's the issue of integrity and the issue of behaving in a manner that is reflective of the office that you hold, both in private and public.
Mm-hmm. Can you expound on, for example, let me give you one of them, a high standard of professionalism or professional ethics. Can you expound on that?
High standards of professional ethics. What I do understand by that, Madam Chairperson, is the fact that you're going to conduct your business according to the professional standards, according to the laid down procedures, abide by the rules of the rules that guide what you're doing, abide to the code of conduct of the public officers. That's what I understand.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And that should be reflected, Madam Chair, in every aspect of your doing.
Thank you, Daktari. Lastly, we've heard about scandals, for example, like the Chicken Gate scandal and other practices that have truly tarnished the image of IEBC. What would you do to protect the integrity of IEBC?
Thank you, Reverend Father. Madam Chairperson, referring to the scandal that you have mentioned, the Chicken Gate that was baptized by the media, it was a scandal out of a procurement process. And the procurement process is guided by law. And what I think, the law is there. What I think in terms of if appointed a commissioner to protect the integrity of the commission in terms of procurement, one is to have a very robust policy on training of the staff in procurement matters, because not every member of staff, while they'll be used or they will participate in some of the procurement processes, like the openings, like the evaluation. Not all of them are trained. They are not professionals. So I would advocate for a very robust training regime, such that all the staff who are likely to be involved in one or the other, they actually understand the process, and at the same time are enforcing the code of conduct for the staff.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamindo, and thank you so very much also, Chair.
Thank you, Reverend Father. Maybe I can bring the interview to an end by asking a general knowledge question to you, Dr. Kamindo. What might be the difference between Madaraka Day and Jamhuri Day?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jamhuri Day is the day, the 12th of December, the day Kenya attained its independence. Madaraka Day, which is on June 1st, it has escaped my mind, I'm sorry.
Well, it's also related. It's when we got partial independence.
Thank you.
Jamhuri is when we became fully independent.
Thank you, Madam Chair, I have learned.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kamindo. Maybe I can invite you to make any remarks you might want to make to the panel.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and distinguished panel members. I do not have a question. I have a comment. First of all, I want to thank you most sincerely for giving me this opportunity to appear before you, have this conversation. I have enjoyed myself. I must say I have enjoyed the interview, the interaction, and I can only say I am grateful to have had the chance and hope I'll be the right candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Then allow me, let me correct myself. For Madaraka Day we got internal self-rule. All right, so allow me on behalf of the panelists as well as Kenyans to thank you so much for offering yourself to serve this country in the role of member of the Commission of IEBC. We wish you well. A member of the Secretariat will escort you. Please ensure that you get all your original documents, and we wish you a good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and panel members.
So we will now take a break until 2 o'clock when we will resume for the next interview.
Began. As the mother of broadcasting in Kenya, you can trust KBC to bring you authentic news and programs to your living room. As KBC, we take pride in our unrivaled heritage as Kenya's trusted national broadcaster. Commanding over 92% digital television signal coverage of our country, 23 radio services that cut across our entire language spectrum,